The year is 2015, and Tom Brady had finally ended his Super Bowl drought, which is hilarious when you say that, but after the Patriots won Super Bowl 39 in 2005, they wouldn't win again until Super Bowl 49 in 2015. In that time span was two gut-wrenching losses to the New York Giants in Super Bowl 42 when chasing the perfect season, and Super Bowl 46 when trying to exact some revenge. But now that the drought was over, and the fact that the Patriots won Super Bowl 49 in such dramatic fashion over an all-time great defense, looking for the first repeat since Tom Brady himself did it in 2003 and 2004, the Patriots and Tom Brady were on top of the world, with Brady now tying Montana for ring number 4, and now looking for ring number 5 to officially submit his status as the unquestioned greatest of all time. But remember his old rival, that Peyton Manning guy? Well, he was still stuck on just one ring, and his career was in its waning moments. Surely a second ring was the goal, but could he get it done at this stage? Many opportunities for his second ring had resulted in ultimate meltdowns, whether it be the pick 6 to Tracy Porter in Super Bowl 44 versus Saints, or the last second Jacoby Jones miracle in Mile High, or the blowout 43-9 loss versus those same Seattle Seahawks that Tom Brady had just defeated in what might be the greatest Super Bowl we've ever seen. Peyton was desperate for his second ring. And again, Peyton wasn't even supposed to be here. His neck injury that forced him to miss the entire 2011 season was supposed to write the end to his career. Many doctors said he'd never play again, and many teams wouldn't even take a chance on him. But through all the adversity, he was still here, and was once again hoping for just one more shot at ring number 2. Unfortunately though, when you suffer such an injury, you only have so much time left before it severely hampers your play on the field. And well, for Peyton, this 2015 season was far and away the worst of his career. Despite the fact that the Broncos started the season 7-0, the offensive performances weren't pretty, but we all know about the iconic no-fly zone defense, and their historic performances would be more than enough to keep the undefeated season on go, or at least until Peyton just couldn't do it anymore. They first ironically fell to the Indianapolis Colts on November 8th. Peyton Manning threw 2 back-breaking interceptions in the 27-24 loss, but he still had 281 yards and 2 touchdowns on 21 for 36 passing at least. But what took place the next week versus the Kansas City Chiefs was the most unfathomable performance maybe in NFL history. The great Peyton Manning had just one more pass completion than interception. He finished the game completing just 5 of his 20 pass attempts for 35 total yards and had 4 total interceptions, and of course, finished with a 0 quarterback rating. And that seemed to be all she wrote for maybe Peyton's career. And the chance for ring number 2, at least with him as a starter, certainly seemed to be over. With the team now sitting at 7-2 after losing their last 2 outings, and Peyton's stats on the season being 9 total touchdowns to 17 interceptions, he was shut down by the Broncos. It'd also be unveiled that he'd been playing with a torn plantar fascia in his right foot and lingering rib injuries. It also didn't help that his neck was being held together by Gorilla Glue. So now it was Brock Osweiler's team, and immediately the veteran leadership of Peyton Manning was missed. Yes, they'd win in week 11, 17-15 versus Chicago. But up next was what going into the season was probably the game of the year on paper. Patriots-Broncos on Sunday Night Football, what seemed to be the final game in this all-time great rivalry between Brady and Manning, was now all of a sudden Brady versus Osweiler? And to Osweiler's credit, the Broncos would defeat the Patriots as C.J. Anderson ran 48 yards through the snow to claim a 30-24 victory in overtime. The Patriots were undefeated at a staggering 10-0 entering this game, maybe even chasing that hole that 2007 left in the franchise. But after this loss, the Patriots would falter down the stretch of the season. The final weeks of the year were not so pretty for both of these teams. The Patriots went a surprising 2-3 after the Denver loss, and the cracks started to majorly show. And as for Denver, the Brock Osweiler experiment was also faltering down the stretch. The week after the Patriot win, Brock threw for 166 total yards as the team relied on their great defense to win 17-3. Then they lose 15-12 versus the Oakland Raiders, and follow that up with a 34-27 loss to the Steelers, where credit to Brock, he played a great game, but when it was tied at 27, he threw the back-breaking interception and the Steelers immediately capitalized for the go-ahead touchdown. And with the chance to answer the score, Brock turned it over on downs twice. Broncos fans were now getting pretty restless, but the team responded with a 20-17 overtime win versus the Bengals on a Monday night. And then the final week of the season came. All the Broncos had to do was win versus the 4-11 Chargers to secure the AFC's #1 seed. But a loss would be detrimental as they'd have to go to Gillette in the playoffs, a place where even a prime Peyton never figured out how to win at in January. And Brock picked the worst night to have his worst performance of the season. Just one touchdown to 2 interceptions, and the Bronco faithful were suddenly cheering for the sheriff to reappear. The Broncos trailed 13-7 midway through the third quarter, and finally, the moment happened. Peyton Manning would take the field for the first time since that evening versus Kansas City, and he'd receive a thunderous ovation. And Peyton Manning was kind of looking like the Peyton Manning of old. And the offense found their way again, and the Broncos would prevail with a 27-20 win to secure the number 1 seed. Now, having the number 1 seed surely didn't mean an easy path to Super Bowl 50. In the divisional round, it'd be a rematch with the Steelers. But unlike the offensive shootout of the regular season, it'd be a defensive affair in the divisional round. The Broncos' elite defense kept the game very much in reach as the Steelers led 10-9 at halftime. Could this be it for the great Peyton Manning? Well, the third quarter certainly didn't provide a different answer. The two teams both scored a field goal, and at the end of 3, it'd be a 13-12 Steeler lead. It was now or never for Peyton to keep his career alive. And after a very stagnant fourth quarter, Peyton Manning would come alive when they needed him most, leading a 13-play 65-yard drive in nearly 7 minutes to reclaim the lead 18-13 on a C.J. Anderson rushing touchdown. And Peyton would even answer on the 2-point conversion to take a 20-13 lead. The two teams would then trade field goals in the final 3 minutes, and the Broncos would be headed to the AFC title game. And who would they be facing? Well, the Patriots defeated the Chiefs 27-20, and that means, for one last time, we'd see Brady vs. Manning, and for maybe the most important time in this rivalry. For Peyton, this was his last chance at that elusive second Super Bowl ring, and ending his career on a loss to Tom Brady, well, it'd be like Coach K ending his career on a loss vs. North Carolina in the Final Four. When these two last faced in an AFC title game, it was just 2 years ago. The 2013 season would see the Patriots and Broncos go to war in a slugfest where the Broncos would prevail 26-16 in Denver. That win also tied the Brady-Manning playoff record at 2-2. Brady won the first 2 matchups, which happened to both be in Gillette. Manning won the next 2 matchups, which were both home games for Manning, one in the old RCA Dome and the other in Sports Authority Field, the home of the Broncos. So this matchup in January of 2016 would be for everything. The tiebreaker in the playoff record between these two legends, a trip to the NFL's 50th Super Bowl. And for Brady, it was about cementing his legacy as the greatest ever and putting the dagger in his archrival's career. For Manning, it was about getting the higher end over his archrival and cementing his legacy with a second Super Bowl and securing career win number 200 in what was sure to be his final ever stand on the yard. It was finally time for game number 17 between these two icons, and the Patriots would be 3-point favorites on the road, and according to Bleacher Report, the Patriots were healthier, hotter, and more likely to emerge as the winner. So how'd this mega matchup start? Well, the Broncos defense would get a massive stop to open the game. This was so significant as the Patriots led the league in opening drive touchdowns, so the Broncos holding them off the scoreboard was a huge mental victory in the opening minutes of this heavyweight bout. Peyton would now take the field, looking to build off the fact that last week's game was the first time this season he hadn't committed a turnover, but still looming was the fact that Peyton had 0 touchdowns in his last 80 postseason pass attempts. But Peyton didn't care about any of that. He drove right down the field and was suddenly rejuvenated, making big throws all drive, and he'd connect with Owen Daniels for 6 on what would be his first touchdown pass in the last 77 days. Unbelievable, isn't it? But the 11-play 83-yard drive lasting 5.5 minutes was the best start you could ask for from Peyton Manning at this stage, and a massive mental boost to start the game. And then Denver's defense would force a 3-and-out. Could Peyton possibly get a 2-possession lead here? Well, no. And now the defensive struggle would ensue. The Broncos would force another 3-and-out as Brady was sacked on 3rd down. The theme so far was pressure. The Broncos defense was getting to Brady with ease, and it was looking a lot like the other Manning's defense in Super Bowl 42. But the Patriots would catch a much-needed break while simultaneously getting robbed by the refs. Manning's pass would be ruled incomplete, but after review, it was ruled a backwards pass, which was recovered by the Patriots and ruled a fumble. Had the play not been ruled dead, it would have been a Patriots touchdown, but the Patriots would go on to find the end zone anyway, rushing it in for 6, which would be followed by a very crucial missed extra point by Stephen Gostkowski. He had not missed all year. He'd made 523 consecutive extra points. But this miss would break the streak, and it'd go on to be a very pivotal miss in this game. And on the next drive, wow, what a catch by Emmanuel Sanders over Malcolm Butler, but the drive would end in a punt. But guess who would force the game's second turnover? Von Miller had picked off Tom Brady, who was backed up near his own end zone, and he'd set the Broncos up sharp with great field position at the 15-yard line. So far, it was Denver's defense that was the story of this game, and Von Miller was slowly crafting one of the greatest defensive performances we've ever seen. Peyton would take advantage of the great field position and deliver his second touchdown of the game to Owen Daniels, and the Broncos all of a sudden led 14-6. And would you look at this? Peyton Manning was outplaying Tom Brady in the AFC Championship. And you want to know how much this game meant to these quarterbacks? Look at Tom Brady using his legs and taking the hit on third down to keep the following drive alive. But guess who ended this drive? DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. Wolf Miller Ware, the whole defense was swarming the field. The Broncos would then punt, and once again the defense of the Broncos would make a play. The pressure got to Brady and he threw a horrible interception into double coverage. Malik Jackson this time knocking down Brady, and Brady would throw his second pick of the quarter as a result. And Brady was in pain. You could see it. This offensive line had no clue what was being thrown at them. As we winded down to the end of the first half, after some more defensive stops, the Broncos would be in position for a 52-yard field goal right before half, and he'd nail it. The Broncos now took a 17-9 lead into halftime in a game where their defense was stifling the Patriots at every turn. At this point, it'd be an uphill battle for the Patriots to win this game, because an 8-point deficit versus this defense might as well have been 18. Their only saving grace at least was the fact that Denver's offense had significantly slowed down, and the Patriots had taken Denver's best shot offensively in the first half. So to start to the second half, a Denver 3-and-out and then a Patriot field goal. Progress, and now the score is now 17-12 Denver leading. And now, just like Brady in the first half, it'd be Manning using his legs to run for a first down. But it'd all be for naught thanks to this massive stop by Malcolm Butler. But now backed up, once again Jim Nantz would call the name of Von Miller, who just jumped onto Brady, taking him to the ground for yet another sack. Even the extra lineman couldn't provide the blocking needed to protect Brady. And I'm aware I haven't mentioned the Patriots defense as much, but they were also putting on an exceptional performance getting to Manning and forcing incompletions while stuffing the run game. And look, we knew this wouldn't be a 2009 rendition of the Brady-Manning rivalry, but this game had totally been dominated by the defenses. And Jamie Collins sacked Manning, ending the Bronco drive. And once again, another Patriot drive ended with Brady getting sacked, and by guess who? Von Miller. So that takes us to the fourth quarter. 15 minutes separated one of these teams from a trip to Santa Clara, California in Super Bowl 50. The score was 17-12, and the question was, can the Bronco defense do it for 15 more minutes? Can the no-fly zone send Peyton to Super Bowl 50, or will the Patriot defense make the plays and give Brady a chance at number 5? Well, for the first time today, the Broncos' run game would break free, as CJ Anderson got them in the red zone, and the drive would end in a field goal to take a 20-12 lead. Brady now, down 8, would drive down the field in the face of heavy duress, but this would all lead to Bill making the call of the game. On 4th and 1 at the 16-yard line, he'd pass up on a field goal to go for it as it had been their best drive of the day, and the Denver defense would once again come up strong. Ware got the pressure on Brady, and Chris Harris makes the stop. But it became pretty evident that the Bronco offense wouldn't be able to seal the game. A quick 3-and-out had given Brady the ball right back with 4:35 left on the clock. And Brady again drove right down the field. Brady and Gronk had found something. He was still getting hit, but he was getting the ball away and into the hands of Gronk. And once again, back in the red zone were the Patriots, and so close was New England at a chance at tying this game. Brady had been hurried 16 times tonight on his 51 dropbacks, knocked down 11 times, and sacked 4 times. But even after all he'd been through, he was still standing and had a chance at sending this to overtime. But a massive drop on 3rd and 6 by Amendola once again led to 4th down. And once again, they failed a 4th down conversion. But once again, a Denver 3-and-out would give the Patriots the ball back. With 1:52 to go, directly at midfield, do or die, now or never, Super Bowl 50 was 50 yards away for one of these teams. And the Denver defense once again made Brady's life a living nightmare on the first 3 plays of the drive. But when they had to have it, Tom Brady lofted a prayer, and somehow, Rob Gronkowski hauled it in over double coverage all the way down to the 10-yard line. One of the most gutsiest plays we've ever seen. But the Broncos defense again, bend but don't break, once again punishing Brady. You see the stats, 18 hurries, 14 knockdowns, 4 sacks, and he was hurried and knocked down once again on 3rd and goal. So just like 4 plays before, the Patriots were facing a do-or-die 4th down conversion. And also just like 4 plays before, the conversion would end in a spectacular Gronkowski pass completion from Tom Brady. And suddenly, it was a 2-point game and we'd have the all-pivotal 2-point conversion. Remember earlier in the game when Gronkowski missed the rare extra point? Well, now it was haunting them. Because instead of kicking an extra point to tie and go to overtime, the Patriots would need to pull one last miracle out of their bag of tricks to keep their chances at Super Bowl 50 alive. The Patriots on the season were just 0 for 1 on 2-point conversions. This certainly wasn't their strong suit. And that's showing the 2-point conversion attempt. As signature, the Denver defense made the plays when they needed to be made, and Brady's pass was intercepted by Bradley Roby to send Peyton Manning and the Broncos to Super Bowl 50. What a game. In the final Brady-Manning showdown, Tom Brady went 27 for 56 for 310 yards, just 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. And the Denver defense was relentless all game. This might be the biggest pounding Brady has ever taken, even surpassing Super Bowl 42. It also significantly helps when you drop back more than 60 times. On the other sideline, Peyton Manning had, well, the best possible game you could ask for from Peyton Manning at this stage. He went 17 for 32 for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns to no interceptions. But he did have the backwards pass that resulted in a fumble and turnover where the Patriots cashed in for 6. But all in all, this was a pretty evenly matched game. 2 great defenses making the opposing quarterbacks' lives hard with relentless pressure, but the costly missed extra point made all the difference. The margin for error was slim, and that was evident here in a 20-18 loss for New England. After that, the Broncos would go on to upset the Carolina Panthers in Super Bowl 50. Once again, it was Von Miller with an all-time great performance. Miller became the 10th defensive player to ever win a Super Bowl MVP. Miller finished with 2.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles that were crucial in the 24-10 win. Both of Miller's strip sacks of Cam Newton resulted in Broncos touchdowns. Those were the Broncos' only 2 touchdowns of the night. And as for Peyton Manning, he went 13 for 23 for 141 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. But the defense's outstanding performance allowed Peyton to manage the game, and he'd now be able to ride off into the sunset with career win number 200 and some Budweisers awaiting in the locker room. If you enjoyed this video, please check out my documentary on why Jalen Hurts' career is straight out of a movie script.